And geez, now Exodus has gotten to the space game too. Let's have a look at what this Peregrine class escort is mounting. This thing's inferior to the Resistance version because it mounts the crappy crate missiles instead of the better Copperheads. It's got a Nerva drive again. This is a functional design. It's not very good. The missiles are pretty bad, but hey, our human allies are starting to launch ships. I use the term allies loosely. They don't like us. We're not at war, we're sort of intense conflict because they don't like that I'm doing so well and that I'm expanding my economy, etc. Other factions don't like that. But their ships are an extra layer of defense between us and the aliens, and so I'll take it. Awesome. I'm considering building one of those marine transports at Mars and getting to work. Maybe I do just that. I think I can afford to get away with just a little bit of extra mission control. So what I will do is I will go to Mars and I will queue an NT class frigate. I think because then it can transfer to Earth if necessary. So that is what I will do, and then I might design a chemically powered version to deal with surface bases. And it doesn't make me, oh, there we go. It doesn't make me feel particularly good, but let's just continue time for a moment. There we are. We're not talking about it, okay? We're not talking about it, but the Eurasian Union gets more democratic, more technologically advanced, less unequal, and more economically prosperous per person by adding Poland. In addition, our mission control jumps greatly, as does our boost. So what we're going to be able to do now, as well as sending these Americans home, which they're always happy to do because it gives their country more investment points, is I'm going to be able to turn off some of my mission control stations around Mercury to save on upkeep, because Earth-based mission control is doing so much of a good job. Once the Eurasian Union finishes this next point of MC, I'd be tempted to sort of detune it. I'll do something like that for the moment. Just keep spreading out economy, welfare, knowledge. What we really want is a bigger focus on knowledge, less focus on mission control, and then eventually we want to get this number up above 40 because that's what's going to democratize the country. That's what we need. Eventually, we probably do need to purge this Eurasian Union control point from the resistance, which makes me very pessimistic. Given the rate of Indian and Russian growth, I'm getting pessimistic of my ability to control the UK, but I really want it. So maybe I'll find a way. Leave it with me. Okay, so I think we have a target. We've got a Terra mission that's just popped here in Canada, and then this mysterious counselor figure over here with 16 defensive stat, which makes them difficult to identify. Now, I would have hoped that Humanity First intelligence people can kind of put two and two together here and go, if there's a really high stat operative we can't identify right near a mission that only aliens are able to launch, then maybe, just maybe, this is an alien. So let's have a look, shall we?
Offering assistance.
89% roll. Full acceleration. There we are, alien detected. Alright, Xenoform 8 Alpha. Jeez, okay, Alpha 18. Alright, well, we've killed like, what, 3 of the guys? This is Alpha 18, so. Ooh, we need to start purging planet Earth and somehow do it without the aliens getting too pissed off. If there's Alpha 18, I'm starting to probe servant locations around the world for alien bases, I reckon. But for now, let's just do the obvious. Let's try and bring him in alive. Actually, I can't believe it, but we've got a second one identified at the same time. Alpha 3, launching an alien abduction mission in South Africa. Those xenology labs are really paying off, but this does put me in a bit of a quandary. I can probably get away with terminating both operatives without sending the aliens into a vengeance spiral. The problem is, I'll also generate hate if I shoot down Victor 16, which I was kind of hoping to do. So I could shoot down Victor 16 and let one of the operatives go, or I could try and terminate both operatives, but I probably can't get away with doing both because we've got current alien threat level 2. Once we capture one, we'll know for sure, but I'm going to tail both. It's a decision. Well, they definitely have to try and capture one of them. We're launching our other two ships soon, and then I've got a refit cycle running for the first two ships. It takes about 30 days to refit, so we might actually not be. We won't be ready to engage the destroyer, so we're probably going to go for a double cap on the aliens on the planet, which means not messing with the servants. It just means neutralizing these two operatives and also trying to search around to see if there might happen to be a base. Because this, I don't know for sure if they're sequential, but this Alpha 18 thing really, really bothers me. Well, with some org juggling, there we go. We did miss the shot on the second one, unfortunately. Max did let us down. I like to think it's just because he wanted to see what the alien threat level was before. He didn't want to steal the thunder from anyone else. So here we are. It is impossible to describe the sensation of gazing upon a creature from another world with one's own eyes. No words could adequately explain how uncanny it feels to see such a thing move and draw breath, turn on its own, its unquestionably alien eyes upon us. Even had we sent a poet, they would not have been able to convey the mingled sense of awe and wrongness, the terrifying privilege of beholding something that does not resemble anything else in human experience. Well, 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 well. So here we are. We have completed the capture a live Hydra objective. I had to supervise this one personally. A lot of the boys did not like the idea of keeping this thing in one piece. Two of them tried to bring machine guns just in case. Promote those men. Promote those men. It was just as well we'd had those anatomy briefings. The info was good that the thing still got within 5 meters before we finally brought it down. I was worried we'd done too much damage, but the thing's already regenerating. First time I've been glad these things are so hard to kill. The chief xenologist says that it should be conscious within 24 hours. Now we need to figure out how to interrogate it once it wakes up. So let's now check. If we go to alien threat level, okay, that hasn't. Either my previous threat estimations were wrong, or that hasn't pissed them off that much, which means there's hope for either capturing or putting down Xenoform Alpha 3, provided Max doesn't lose sight of them. So we're going to keep surveillance, and then we're going to try and send in someone else. I'm also completing a whole bunch of energy labs and a fission core upgrade project. I'll need both of those later. I'm not sure I'm going to take the time to upgrade my ships again, but it is what it is. I'm going to grab Skunk Works at this point. This is quite useful for accelerating our research, so I might actually prioritize that to at least level 2. Skunkworks are facilities that we might put up at one of our Mercury Habs in order to give bonus to all of these engineering projects. Unlike research labs, which give a bonus to a category, Skunkworks give projects to all your personal projects, so anything with this cog icon. So we might need a couple of them for the moment. We're going to be doing a lot of energy research, so Z-pinch techniques. I'll talk about power generation in a future episode. This one is absolutely about the Xenos. Awesome. Okay, that was great. Back shortly. And here's a nifty one if you're swimming in resources. Maximum effort. Maximum effort increases the amount of resources you can spend on an action. So instead of capping out at whatever it does, it lets you go to other levels. So you can spend a truly insane amount of ops or influence or money if you just need that extra +2, which I think is kind of worthwhile in some circumstances. What do I need? There's so many other things I need. Let me just buy some time. I'm going to want fleet combatants eventually anyway, so I could pick that one up. All of this is pretty good. Is there anything I had in research before? Yeah, I started transnational coordination, so I may as well continue with that. This, once we complete it, is going to give me all the cap that I need in order to go after the United Kingdom. So we'll pick our moment, and then that's what we'll do. Awesome. So with maximum effort, Max can spend up to 128 ops to take a 44% shot. He missed his previous one, but his previous one was a lower odd shot, so he can take that one. We'll keep investigating it just in case, just to keep eyes on in case Max misses again and we need another shot. And I'm going to have Camia inspire. We're just doing a little rotation around, making sure that everyone is inspired up right now because I can't afford any spies. I want to try and start converting some servants and protectorate people again shortly. And I just want to be sure that we don't have any moles before we move on to that stage of the operation. Anyway, let's run time forward and let Max take a shot. Now, one of the reasons I like to pop a whole bunch of surveillance missions while attempting to detain or assassinate is they usually resolve before the other action, boosting the chances. So Max has gone from about 44 to 65. We'll let him take the shot. Loudly, he does it. Let's now check alien hate levels. Not that these will be perfect. Okay, we're up to 3. I reckon that means we can probably take a shot. So as soon as our fleet is ready to go, I'm betting there's a destroyer in orbit that is willing to, say, chance its luck against some, inadequate human tin cans. Hopefully. But to do that, we're going to need a pair of ships that can actually do the job. I've got the monitors upgrading. They'll be ready in a second. That'll give us 2 killer ships. So killer ships are ones which have the 4-pack of missile tubes. Then they've got a pair ship going with them. So you usually will operate these ships in pairs or even in trios. Whatever you can get away with in terms of combat value and still get the enemy to engage you. Let me just quickly show you what a New Zealand class is. So if we look at a New Zealand class monitor, the New Zealand's role is to, we'll just go click upgrade here. So this is the New Zealand. The New Zealand's role is to draw enemy fire and then basically survive, because you can't win a battle unless 2 things happen. You destroy your opponent and at least one of your ships survives. So the role of the New Zealand is not to kill anything, it's to survive the battle. So the New Zealand saves a lot of weight by swapping out 3 of its 4 missile tubes for point defense lasers. It still has 1 missile tube for good measure. It swaps out the magazines for electronic countermeasures. It retains the heat sink, which becomes very important now. Well, it becomes important to at least have a heat sink now that we're running point defense lasers. And it goes up to 17 armor on the front quarter, 1 in the middle. I could even take this above 20 if I wanted to. But against early game threats, this should be sufficient. I can readjust it if I want to put even more armor on the front. This is one of the reasons why using adamantane is important. If I was still using, say, silicon carbide, this thing would just not be workable. Well, it would be workable. It's just we decrease the range down to 5.1 and the combat acceleration significantly. And same if we did the side. So having adamantane or nanofilament or something light is important. So the New Zealand's pair with the killer ships. They draw the fire, they survive. The alternative approach, of course, would be to just use more ships, rather spreading the firepower up over multiple vessels. To do that, you could use something like the Wallaby here. The Wallaby is designed to be survivable and have lots of weapon systems. It's workable as an alternative to the killer ship, survival ship combo. Lots of Wallabies will die, but the idea is you field enough Wallabies that not every single one of them gets engaged by the enemy before the end of the battle. They still rely on this front armor. They have more side armor and they're more combat acceleration, so they want to dodge more hits than they take. So basically, which one I would use would depend on what sort of weapon sets I see amongst my opponents. I'm seeing a lot of missile launchers on the early game destroyers here, which means using a PD-based shield ship sounds like the right solution. So that's going to be our comboing. We're going to have killer ship monitors of the Western Australia class, and we're going to have defending ships of the New Zealand class, because what is New Zealand except a giant shield to protect Australia against the inevitable Antarctic invasion? Okay, so I've just finished Z-pinch techniques, which means I'm going to pick up directed space research. This is what unlocks a lot of the T2 research buildings. The only one I currently have is Skunkworks, which gives a bonus to all this engineering research. So there's a bunch of those in construction at the moment. But unlocking all those T2 science labs would be kind of useful. Other than that, rushing Hydra language, and you may notice the US-Russian army is once again active in Europe, which means only one thing: it must be time to absorb another country into the happy land of the Eurasian Union, which we will eventually make democratic. I'm working on it, okay? So, yeah, I did decide to prod Slovakia a little bit with a coup, so we're just going to take control of the executive there and then roll in. One thing I am going to do to make sure we're as efficient as possible is before we roll in, we're not in a rush, we're going to complete some mission control points. Which means I probably could afford to send the Americans home briefly, but it shouldn't take too long to complete at least another point to be efficient. I might even want to hold on to it for a little bit longer. I've got the control cap, so maybe I'm not in a rush. Maybe the Americans can stay at home and then come back a little bit later just to save just the maximum number of investment points. I also do have room in my cap, so I can do one of 2 things. I can go Great Nations and start on another Great Nation project, or I can finally let India grow. The Indian people are starting to get annoyed because by this point they have a full democracy and they're about to hit education standard 8, which means they're getting a little bit unstable and annoying. Their rest level is 4 for unrest, simply because the GDP per capita doesn't match the expectations and the other levels of development for the nation. So at some point, I should probably take the knowledge focus off and go back to growing the economy, even though that will blow up my CP limit. Perhaps after I expand and rejoin, redraw the border to include Slovakia within our definition of the great, wonderful, alien-hating Eurasian Union, that's probably the time to do it. Although I do need to increase my popularity here. I'm already fighting to get the states back on side. I turned my agents away from public campaigns for a while. The US has, as a result, swayed a little bit. I can get this back under control in maybe 2 or 3 months, but I'm going to need to focus agents on doing it or bring a few points of unity in, which I'm not willing to do. Finally, the American military should be hitting 5.0 soon, which means we'll get a lovely new portrait for our military as it ceases to be an information age army and becomes something better. And I haven't taken my eye entirely off the United Kingdom, I just don't think I can afford to piss off the aliens anymore right now. And now we can threaten the aliens in their own language. So we now have the Hydra language project. We have completed communicate with the captured Hydra. Well, that was a headache. We've had multiple teams working around the clock with a dozen different methods. In the end, it was the Swiss team from ETH Zurich that came up with a solution. A jury-rigged automated analyzer modified to measure ferrocite levels from second to second. Combined with audio analysis, they're pretty confident they can understand what it's saying. Talking back is going to be harder, but we're building up a database of Hydra click vocabulary that should be enough for basic conversation. It's not going to be pretty, but it won't be the first time I've had to do an interrogation where I don't speak the language. Okay, that's pretty dark. At least it's in a proper facility this time instead of a safe house with a table and chair. Hans Castillo, everyone. Just in case you forgot who we were playing. Awesome, so we've done that. I'm going to pick up Fission platform kit just because it's super cheap and we can pick it up quickly. We're still working on transnational coordination. Arrival security. We'll wait for Hydra interrogation to pop. Directed space research. No, actually, I'm happy with this distribution for a moment until our skunk works finish. Let's see if we're able to steal a project this turn from the servants. There's new project, Hydra interrogation. So, sorry, Fission outpost kit, you weren't important anyway. Where's Hydra interrogation? Maximum priority. Let's go. And do I get my free tech? Skunk works are finishing. That's my first round of them, so that's pushed my project research up to plus 60%. Every one of those skunk works is adding plus 60%, and it opens up a new research slot over here, so I can do Fission Platform Kit. And see, I'm producing 40.9k annual science now. If I put a tick here, it's now 42.6. You do get an efficiency bonus for spreading your research, so it's kind of worth doing the maximum distribution. It's why you commonly see me doing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 3 on whatever one I want to go with. Now, do I get a free research? We've investigated her. Fantastic. We're going to repeat that just in case we can turn her. US military's gone home, and we'll steal the communications hub. Thank you. Awesome. What is she doing over there anyway? She's stealing Niger from Project Exodus. We've been cracked down in Slovakia, so we may have to counter if someone tries to take that from us. I should have put defend interests on there, but I will counter for purge and then defend. I just want to hold on to this long enough that we can get a couple more points of mission control in here, fill up the province a little bit, and then absorb it. Ground-based mission control is better than my Mercury mission control because I don't have to waste an orbital to do it. If I can do the mission control on Earth safely, so if I have a good buffer, I can replace those operations centers with science research labs, for example, once I research directed space research to push my research ahead faster rather than having to use those valuable mission control slots to generate, well, mission control. And looks like I must have pissed off the aliens because there is an alien in low Mars orbit, and that's usually not a good sign. Let's see what it's got to do. There we are, aliens attack in space. Take me there. Did it not? What did it engage? Oh no, it's engaging our base on Mars. Okay, so this is clearly retaliation. We captured an alien, we shot an alien, we researched their language, and then we played Smash the Servant, which is a really fun game to play as Humanity First. Like harassing the servants and the Protectorate, lots of fun, but it does generate alien hate. And the only way to get the aliens to have that hate sort of flow out of their system is for them to come and destroy your stuff. Now, if you shoot back, you're just going to generate more hate. And unless you're actually in a position to beat them, I would recommend playing dead. Let them do their damage, rebuild after the fact, and just take it on the chin, basically. So there we are, Outpost Mining Complex at Mars Base 6 destroyed. Looks like it's damaged and destroyed pretty much every module except for the actual base itself. So we will just immediately rebuild that, rebuild the fission pile, rebuild the energy lab. And that's actually kind of a win for us because the aliens have now gotten a little bit of hate out of their system. They'll keep destroying some stuff. That's okay. We can deal with that. I'd rather that than them coming in like destroying my fleet or too many of my Mercury stations. I just want them to get it out of their system as harmlessly as possible. What do I want here? There's lots of good stuff that I could be grabbing. I could get like the farms and hydroponics bays, but I'm kind of doing well on resources. I don't need those in space at the moment. I don't need advanced Nerva because I have advanced Pulsar, which is generally speaking a better engine. Alright, I'll pick a research and continue. Maybe fleet combatants. It's a long-term investment, so we can just sort of leave it slow burn. Now, more of our skunks works are finished. We have 14 bonus engineering in total between our orgs and our buildings. So we're doing plus 106% on these engineering projects. So when you look at something like Hydra interrogation, it's 20,000 research, but I'm getting a plus 106% and plus 122%. So I'm going to be finished this by the end of the year. Not bad. And the bastards have burned another base. Well, this time they've actually burned a base to the ground. So Mars Base 6 is actually destroyed, which was the Acidalia Planitia site, but that's pretty simple. We'll just found another outpost there. This is the aliens trying to dissuade you from this. It's clear, and I don't want to spoil too much of the story, and I myself actually haven't played the story all the way through, very deliberately. Even during the beta, I played a lot of early game, I played a lot of mid game, very deliberately did not go to the late game. It's clear that the aliens have a purpose, have an agenda, and that doesn't involve wiping you out, but that doesn't mean they're not going to show you who's boss if you decide to provoke them. And I feel like one of the great ways to lose this game is to not keep sight of that, try and fight the aliens in a total war fashion before you're ready, because then you'll build up so much hate that they just come and they kick in a critical amount of your infrastructure at a critical time, and you're in trouble. So let's see if he destroys anything else around Mars, or if he's happy. We've got actual loyalty score of the servants of 8, which means she may be viable to be captured now. I don't know if anyone else is in orbit. Phobos and Deimos have both been claimed, one by the Resistance, one by Exodus. That's perfectly fine. The more friendly humans in space, I think, the better. Let's also see if our alien hate level has been updated. It seems to be dropping. That's a good thing, because we want to shoot a ship as soon as we've got our New Zealand class vessels in space. We might shoot at an alien destroyer. So I'm kind of happy that they're putting the hate level down now, so it's not as critical later. Here's a very humanity-first option, appeal to fear messaging. Our public campaign missions have a 25% greater impact on national public opinion. I might actually research that at some point. That sounds like it would be interesting. We should be about to take control of Slovakia again. There we are. Awesome. Does mean we have to clean up the economy again. I will defend interests immediately in order to stop someone claiming it back. But just got to finish those mission control points so that it can be reintegrated. I am looking covetously at the United Kingdom, but again, I don't think I can provoke the aliens by attacking the servants right before I'm about to shoot down one of their ships, although it is mighty tempting. There's 6 mission control, there's a whole bunch of science, there's some armies, there's some navies. Life is good. This is definitely on the agenda sooner rather than later, probably around the time Slovakia gets integrated. So I think the plan is shoot down a destroyer, get the alien technology, wait for the alien hatred to cool off, and then go after the United Kingdom after integrating Slovakia. I think that's the overall play. Now, while all this is happening, our Mars shipyard has been working on a secret weapon. Oh, we finished directed space research. Fantastic. Let's do... applied artificial is a long-term one. We want railguns. We want a whole bunch of stuff. Supercapacitors. I'm going to grab... This is useful. This is useful. But I think right now I'm going to go supercapacitors because it's less of a time commitment and I can change later on if I need to. Plus I've got a good material science bonus advantage. So let's look at Foxtrot 7, aka the Emu. Have I locked onto him or is he still docked? There we are. I think, oh, it's it's docked. Okay. Anyway, let's go look at the design itself. Ship classes, let's look at the Emu. So the Emu is a marine transport, pure and simple. It's a advanced pulsar drive, no armor, it's got some copperhead missiles as backup, and 4 marine assault units, which means we have space marines. That's right, because these guys can drop onto enemy targets from orbit, assault and capture an enemy hab with our marines. We can seize a station we have docked with, or an enemy base from an interface orbit above it. That's right. Special orbital drop troopers, Adeptus Astartes, whatever you want to call them, we can now drop onto enemy stations and assault them. And this is going to be our key to hamstringing the servant economy. And the Protectorate too. We're going to ruin both of them because they're stealing some of our technology. They're generally being relatively prosperous in space, and we can't have that. You see the servants currently run plus 22 water, plus 39 volatiles, 60 metals, 12.5 nobles. That's because they have a base out in the asteroid belt that's doing metal mining. But the water and the volatiles are their vulnerability because 27.3 of that most of that water, it'll be less than 27.3 because they won't get 100% mining yield, is coming from Mars. So I'm thinking that if we just do a little drop troop action and seize this base here, oh man, it's got a settlement core on it. So I don't like this base. It costs 3 MC. It's going to push us above 90, which is really, really dangerous territory as far as I'm concerned. But it just has a tier 1 mining complex. So what I'm thinking of doing is we drop down, we seize it, and then we sell it to someone else. So I'm going to leave Foxtrot 7 in orbit here. I can't help myself. Okay, so the Space Marines are going to stay in orbit until the next mission phase. Then we're going to send a counselor to negotiate with someone else. As soon as we do that, we're going to send in the assault action. We're going to take this base and we're immediately going to sell it to somebody we like. Probably the Resistance, I reckon, in order to give them an additional base on Mars. We don't have to pay the MC cost for what is a pretty... this is not a great base all up, and I don't want another max tier at the moment. I can always collect more bases on Mars, eventually take the whole thing, but I don't want to go to war with anyone, and I think I can get some nice free points with the Resistance by trading it to them, assuming they have the MC cap for it. They've got 2 MC cap. Does anyone have 3 MC cap? The Academy definitely has MC. Exodus has 76 MC in space over 71. Exodus is genuinely competitive. Exodus is producing as many nobles as we are. I'm impressed. They're like half our output on a lot of things, and they're equal in some. They're at least in the ballpark. And 365 over 362. Exodus is doing really, really well. The servants, not so much, and we want to put them down even further. The Protectorate has already been gated. They haven't managed to get water or volatile income going in space, and as a result, they're struggling with colonization. They're still doing it all with boost. And I strongly suspect, it's because they didn't get a base on Mars. I'm not even sure they have one on Luna. And if they don't have one on Luna, they're stuffed. Nope. Tycho Crater. But it has no water and it has no volatiles. They got the worst site on Luna, bar the one that no one has gone near. So what they really need to do, the Protectorate, is get enough boost to go and find a good asteroid, but that's going to take them a while. They have lost the race for space. If we throw the servants back a little bit, then maybe they will too. My only concern is that the servants have one or two good mining bases out in the asteroid belt. I think it's just the one. We might be able to get there, but it's a bit of a flight. If we get the right orbital transfer window, who knows? But I think if we clean up some servant stations and bases, then we'll be in a good position. And what better way to end an episode if we're not going to shoot down an alien with some Space Marine action? Okay, so we finally converted that servant agent, so we now have intel on all of them, but I'm going to resist the desire to shoot one of them straight out the gate. I am tempted to sabotage their project, but again, I'm not sure what it's going to do to my hate levels, so I'm just going to ease off for a moment, keep an eye on that alien hate bar, and with the contact to the initiative, because they are under their MC limit and we were able to find them, maybe we trade to them. They don't have particularly much income. Now, actually, no. I should find the resistance, because the resistance seems to have no water income. That's a problem for them. We can at least make them somewhat negative, but right now all their boost is bleeding out. Something has happened to one of their water generating bases. I think I know what that might be. Where is Ceres? Because remember, I just eventually grabbed one location on Ceres. No, they're not on Ceres. Okay, they're not on Ceres. Let's have a quick look. We'll solve this problem. Resistance. Where are they? Resistance. We're looking at resistance mines. So they've got a tier 2 mine. Tier 2 mines everywhere. I thought what was happening was one was upgrading, but I'm not seeing any sign of it. I'm just seeing an economy that is... Yeah, their op center is unpowered. That shouldn't be causing a problem. Something has pushed the resistance wouldn't have done this to themselves deliberately. They're smarter than that. So something has driven them suddenly negative. They've lost something, gained something, and I've missed it. That's unfortunate, because I was hoping to contact and sell this turn. But I don't have a resistance person to talk to, so I'm going to have to find one. Where might I find a resistance person? That's a protectorate person, because they're in territory they control. That's a protectorate person. That's Exodus. Maybe this person, because they're not Exodus, but they're in Europe. I'll give it a try. I've got to find a resistance person before we can do some Space Marine stuff, which I really want to do before the end of the episode. Well, maybe the shoot down team will win rather than the Marines, because the Marines can't go in until we find someone from the Resistance. But as it is, we might be able to go after an alien ship. So we've got a bunch of Foxtrot fleets. Let's merge a fleet up. So we've got one big fleet, and then right now what we're going to do is we're going to split the fleet so that we break off one New Zealand class and one Western Australia class. Split the fleet. Fantastic. Let me just check what my ship construction record is at the moment. Fantastic. So we have Space Marines, Foxtrot 3, Foxtrot 9, Foxtrot 14. I think we want 14, right? The Western Australia and the New Zealand. Fantastic. So we can go after, I think, Victor 20. So if we just check orbit here for a moment. Victor 16 is on Earth surveillance until February. What about Victor 20? I'm not sure I can see Victor 20. There it is. Victor 20 finishes Earth surveillance in a couple of days. Well, I think we rain on their parade. So we have a fleet with 127 combat power. They have 234. We could probably afford to take one more ship and still have them engage. I'm going to form up a fleet and then let's go. So this should be a relatively quick transfer. 6 hours to intercept. So our ships disengage from their station. So we've got the New Zealand, the Janissary, and the Western Australia. I should rename all ships, but we do have the first ship of the class in both cases. The Western Australia, the Janissary, the Western Australia and the New Zealand are the first ships of their classes. What they're now doing is they're going to find the right orbital position, and then they're going to turn and burn. There we are. They should be just about hitting now because I was working at really high speed. So we should have less combat power than them. They should probably accept. Alright, so in the initial stages, what we're going to do is we're just going to priority target the Obsidian Sword, and we're going to throw AI control. This is going to do some wild maneuvers that throw the enemy off before we sort of intervene and padlock anything. What we want to do is sort of divert its fire in multiple directions so that its projectiles can't randomly, if they destroy one target, retarget after another. Our ships should all start to fire their missiles relatively early on. So there we are, the WA is firing a full salvo, 8 Copperhead missiles. These will do the job of destroying the enemy. The point is now that we have to survive. So what I'm going to do is identify which ship these projectiles are coming in at, and once I've identified that, I'm going to take the ship off AI control and instead switch into a padlock in the hope that that will defend. If it doesn't look like it's evading successfully. Right now, the burns look like they're doing their job. We're sort of evasive, and PD's catching some of the incoming projectiles, although it won't catch all of them. Okay, there goes the Janissary. We only need one of our ships to survive. And I think the New Zealand is far enough off axis that she's probably going to be okay. By now the WA should be firing some of its... Oh, it's still got some volleys left. I hope it gets 1 or 2 more off before it's destroyed. Okay, WA has been destroyed. Now, the New Zealand is the last one standing. It's one of our shield ships. I could have done this battle manually, but I wanted to illustrate how the AI does it first. Next battle we fight, I'll show you some manual controls. And there we are. Copperhead missiles did the job, and PD saved the New Zealand from the last intervention. So there we go. The shield ship sucked up enough firepower, and one was left at the end, whereas the WA gave us the missiles that we needed to finish the job. This is expensive as a way to do it, but I like to teach it as something pretty basic that anyone can do at the start of the game. I will show off some more techniques in terms of manual maneuvering and different ship designs, but we did that with pretty basic technology. So there we are, salvaged alien spacecraft, scratch 1 bogey is the achievement. Although we've been able to some extent study alien technology before, to have access to one of their craft is entirely new. One of their craft in its entirety is a godsend to science. This is how they access our skies. This is how they travel within the solar system. This is what we must learn from and perhaps even emulate if we are to truly do the same ourselves. We have retrieved a veritable treasure trove of extraterrestrial technology, a raft of inscrutable machines whose even basic function currently eludes us, metal whose very structure is wildly unfamiliar, and even screws and bolts with almost preposterous tensile strength. To call this a mother lode would be the understatement of the millennium. We have so much to learn from every last fragment of this haul, for it surely represents the technological apex of a species that has somehow found a way to travel from their far distant world to ours. Well, we did it. We took on the aliens on the field of battle and we won, and we've earned the spoils, working examples of alien technology. If things weren't so dire, we'd be celebrating. Actually, the science teams are celebrating anyway. Not surprised. Never seen those guys so excited. I feel like slapping them down and reminding them just how many lives those shiny toys cost us. Indeed, it cost us 2 whole monitors. But New Zealand did survive. Good on you, New Zealand. But I suppose there's no point. The stuff we've got in the labs now is beyond anything that's ever been produced on Earth. Any R&D company would kill just for the stuff. Oh, just for a sniff. Well, the Initiative is basically an R&D company, so maybe they will kill us. We'll see. If we were in the business of making money, we'd be set for life. Again, if you were playing the Initiative. But we're not. We're fighting for humanity and for Earth, and this stuff only matters if it can help with that. So, there's a long road ahead, but we're one step further along in it. Research alien technology when it becomes available. Oh, and we've recovered a griffin corpse. Retrieve the body of one of the creatures nicknamed griffins. Look at that guy. Preliminary assessment, entirely different species. As different Okay, as different from the Hydra as we are from a dragonfly. So thin and hollow are this alien's bones that it seems unlikely it even originated on the same planet as the other aliens. Most probably it hails from a far lower gravity environment, which would also explain how rarely this species has been sighted on Earth. With the bone structure, Griffin, great, okay. So, aliens defeated in space battle, 500 influence, destroyed, but operational. Victory to humanity first. Early game space battles are expensive in terms of losses. You just don't have the defensive technology or capabilities to survive reliably. If I had manually controlled that and showed you how to, like, padlock, or for example, or manually maneuvered, we might have been able to save one more ship, but walking away with 0 casualties, I just don't think was going to happen. So we'll wait for the Foxtrot. It's no longer Battlefleet Earth, it's now Foxtrot 9. We'll wait for it to recover. We'll send it to transfer back to its home base. We'll transfer it to join the rest of the warships, I think. Done. And as it flies back to base and the sun sets once again on a grateful world, that is probably where I'm going to leave it. I'm not sure if this is a short one or a long one, but the shoot down of an alien always feels like a good thing. Awesome. So we've taken one down. I'm not sure what that's going to do to our alien hate level. We haven't got an update to it because, well, you need to do something to give you an update, and we don't have one. So whether we face another retaliation mission or not, I'm not sure. If we do, that's okay. It'll drain the hate away, which allows the Space Marines to do their thing. So next episode, expect us to probably get smacked around a little bit by the aliens, and then to send the Space Marines in to become the first humans to ever wage war on another planet. Kind of a cool achievement. You've got to bet they're playing cards or something for the role of the first person out of the drop pod. It's going to be the Sergeant, isn't it? Anyway, that's it for this episode. I think that was a pretty good one in terms of progress. A shoot down is always a good thing. I will see you again next time. We're going to expand on what we're learning about space combat. We're going to launch some Space Marine attacks. We're probably going to absorb Slovakia at some point, and we're going to unlock some pretty cool techs as well, and I will talk about the hate meter in more detail. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you again soon.